Thanks for tuning in to the Animal Control Report podcast, where we help debunk the dog catcher stereotype. A lot of times people think it's a dog catcher when they hear about animal control officers, but here on the Animal Control Report, we change that by taking you inside the day-to-day operations of animal control officers. Not only will you hear stories of animal control officers, but you'll hear from industry experts as well. We are also part of the Keep It Humane podcast network. We have some amazing partners there, so check them out at keepithumane.com/podcast network. You can listen to all the animal control and animal welfare related podcasts there. And let's continue to help people help animals. It's the Animal Control Report with your hosts.
Wow. Ashlee Bishop.
You weren't ready for
Texas
that?
Bishop.
I wasn't.
How are things in well, we got Wisconsin, we got Texas, like we got almost the entire United States, the four corners covered. We need somebody on the East Coast now.
Mm-hmm. It's hot. It's real hot.
Oh, we're gonna get to a heat index of like 100 in the next couple days.
So what is a heat index?
What it feels like.
So can I just tell you that I feel a certain way and like that's the heat index?
I feel like a tactical assault turtle, but
Oh, goodness
whole other
gracious.
thing.
Well, let's get this get the what's that called when you do like the stuff every time, the same thing over and over again, like the somebody help me with words here.
I'm not quite sure where your head is
All right,
going.
well, let's get this stuff out of the way. We are Please check out our website, keepithumane.com. You know what's really cool about keepithumane.com? We just got in these tactical catch, pull, self-defense, inspired by the Kubaton keychains. Check out, if you're watching on Spotify or YouTube right now, you can see how cool this thing is. It is unbelievably, like, it's heavy. How much do we, like, consider kittens? Like, what's the threshold with, like, newborn kittens if we can move them, like, without foster care? Isn't it like, no, it's 2 pounds. Never mind. This is not 2 pounds.
I was going to say.
Where are you going, Dan?
I don't know. It's Sunday morning. This thing is amazing. Just go to keepithumane.com, go to the store, and then you'll see the catch pull self-defense keychain. I have to, like, literally when I travel, I have to put this in my travel, like, checked baggage because you can't, because it's a weapon. Self-defense weapon. Knock somebody out if they keep playing games.
They look really good.
Thank you. I will bring them to Texas. I haven't decided if I'm gonna mail them there or if I'll just check my bags. So we'll see. So check that out. Also check out our friends at livetrap.com. They yet to have these keychains, but they could. They have their own catch pulls, so you can go there. They have the green ones. Maybe I'll make some special green ones for livetrap.com. Use discount code Keep It Humane. Wow, Keep It Humane for 10% off your order. All right, that's the stuff we needed to get out of the way. That's like the housekeeping. That's what it was, housekeeping.
Oh, okay. That's not where I was going with that, but all right.
Where were you going with it?
I don't know. It was hard to follow you.
When is it not hard to follow me?
That is the truest statement I think you've ever spoken, Dan.
My brain's fried. I don't know. It's too hot in Texas.
Somebody was out at a concert for 6 hours in the 90+ degree weather yesterday. That wasn't me.
It was me. And good Lord, people were passing out left and right. And it was fun though. I can't say it was legendary concert. I will like bucket list check off George Strait. You're amazing. Shouts out to George Strait. Ugh. It was so good.
No. We do not need him listening to the podcast because he's going to hear Dan try to sing and it's going to be all over.
I was about to sing Alabama, Arkansas. Does he sing that song too?
No.
Oh my God, Dan.
George Strait, we appreciate you. Come on the show, my friend.
Yeah, it's just hot. It's hot in Texas. And then I don't, and we're in the middle of hurricane season too. So, that's fun.
Oh. Uh-oh.
I thought hurricane season was a little later in the year.
No, it starts June 2nd all the way to November.
Wow.
So warmer waters means more fun times.
So you are telling me I probably really don't want to move down to Texas. Got it.
No, you should move down to Texas because now we could have times two Texas bishops.
Wait, what if we all moved to Texas?
We
Hell
really fuck with
yeah.
Dan's head.
Hell yeah.
What if it was just the animal control Texas edition and then we just lived in Texas?
Do it.
Did it out of the Academy for the Humane Educators?
Could I make it out, you think? Is that what you said?
No, no, no. Like we do the podcast out of the
Oh, out of their
Academy.
building. Have you
Yeah.
visited their building? It's a great
Nope.
building. It's
It is a
actually,
great
yeah,
building.
it's a really cool. You should go next time you're down there.
Yes.
It's
I've never been close enough.
a
Well, then you
well,
can stop at my house and then we can go down there because it's an hour from me.
yeah, and it's I mean it's not too far out of Austin. And
No, it's about
for
mhm.
for those of the people that are listening, we're talking about the Humane Educators of Texas,
Woo!
humaneeducatorsoftexas.com. Those are our buddies, so check them out on your FM dial. Actually, that would be your Google machine. FM dial was radio talk. This isn't radio, it's a podcast. So let's get into it.
Oh my God, Dan, give it up.
You know what? No, before we get into it though. So do you recall that I keep messing with this camera. So if you're watching on YouTube, I apologize if you're getting
He has the earthquakes right now.
it is
Texas
California.
Bishop. Yeah, you have the earthquakes. Texas Bishop has the hurricanes, and currently we're in monsoon season apparently because it's rained every day. So
Oh God.
So the feedback from an episode we did a few weeks ago when I just talked about really my like compassion fatigue and overall
Mm,
self-care. I just want to shout out all the listeners that actually reached out, and there were quite a few of you, so that was nice. But I'm still feeling I'm still feeling a certain kind of way. And I don't know, do you display any like work related stuff in your house? Like if you're watching on YouTube, you can see I have this humane license plate or these old time animal control cars above my head or these ones over here. Does anyone
I
display any of their work stuff?
no,
mm-mm.
I we've talked about it before. I try my best to keep a work-life balance of not doing work stuff short of the podcast outside of work.
Yeah, that's a really commendable thing to do. And then how about you,
I'm not
Dan?
always great at it though, so don't commend me that much because,
Fair.
but I try to make a
Yeah.
point of it.
Yeah. I mean, my husband was really big on me keeping the award from last month in the house. And I was just like, all it reminds me of is the journey to get here. And it was tough at the beginning. And I don't know if I want to really look at that and remember that all the time.
It's like that
But
that deserves to be in my office.
yeah, so it's in my office hanging out. But since him and I are kind of in the same industry, since he's technically the dispatcher for my officers, it's hard to not talk shop a lot
Sure.
because we're always connected.
Yeah, you have
Um,
that yeah.
yeah. So, yeah, I'm really bad at that as I am with other things. So, I carry my work phone with me 24 hours a day,
Oof.
because I want to make sure, my staff is taken care of when they need me.
I I mean I get that, and in the position that you're in, it's kind of necessary. Like in my current role, we have four of the same people, so it's easy for me to turn off when I'm
Sure.
on my days off. And I've even like I've given my personal cell phone out to some of the officers that so they just in case, because I don't want to completely cut people off. Like if they have a real need, I want to be available for them, and I think that that's important. But there is also a work life balance when it comes to that.
For
What
sure.
Yeah, yeah. What happened for me the other day is like I think whether it was like those conversations we had on that episode or more so just generally like feeling a certain type of way. Like I had all my challenge coins displayed and like all my like work history displayed like through um almost like I don't know even why I did it. Like if it was more of like a motivator or a reminder to like stay the course. I've had my transgressions and those transgressions have been like self-inflicted. So it's not like it's anybody's fault but my own. And it's just like looking at that stuff, I just was reminded every day of like the stress and hardship that comes with this job that we do. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just going to store that stuff. And maybe one day, maybe those are like accomplishments that come out when I retire or just leave this profession in a hole. And that's something that I actually sometimes think about. Like, what if I just did something else? Like, I could, I don't know, deliver Amazon packages or like drive FedEx. Does anyone? Is it just me that thinks that?
You want to drive
Uh,
FedEx or deliver Amazon packages, which means you're still going to deal with the bite cases
I know.
because you're going to be the one bit.
you're gonna. I was gonna
No,
say you're gonna
guaranteed.
be on the one that.
I guarantee I would never get bit. I would be like, I would teach classes to the staff.
Okay, I'm sorry. You wouldn't get bit. You'd get hit and run by a dog again.
Chicho, I'm coming for you. One day I'm gonna find you, Chicho. Not the dog. I don't mind the dog. The dog's fine. It's the owner that was a dork.
Dork. You dork.
Try to keep this
Um.
PG-13. So like,
Why?
I don't. But I guess where I'm going with this is like, this is a hard job, and I think it's normal for us to like have maybe those feelings. Like, is this like, what do we know what the average lifespan of an ACO is? Is there studies out there?
There is.
Hmm.
So I don't have the results yet, but there is an actual study on I think the life like the general I don't want to say lifespan because it's not how long the people live, but the career span, as well as wages and things like that. I'm trying to remember I literally just looked at it. The ALDF is who put it out. That's who it
Okay.
was.
Okay.
However, you have to pay like $250 to $500 for the full report.
Really?
What?
Yeah.
From the
Yeah.
ALDF?
Yeah. Um, I'm 90% sure it was the ALDF. Um, because I was like, oh, that would be helpful in my situation right now. But let me see if continue. I will see if I can find what I'm talking about.
Okay. I wonder because I think it gets thrown around a lot. It's like maybe 2 years, 3 years, is it 5 years? When I came into this job, man, it felt like everybody that I worked under had almost 20 years of service. How about you, Texas Bishop?
Um, just about, I guess, like early on. Yeah, like my supervisor at the time when I first got into everything had been an animal control officer specifically for about 20 years.
Yeah.
And then the supervisor that took over after he retired had also been from like the start of the shelter until he became supervisor, and it was like 15 years or so. So yeah, I feel like everybody, I mean, even now, my assistant supervisor, she's been with the city for 17 years. I mean, that's unheard of, where somebody stays in the same profession, or at least our profession, or with even the same
Apartment.
department for
Yeah.
that long.
Seriously.
Yeah. But it's funny, that we talk about this too, because my supervisor has always been on the track of like, you're so intelligent, you can do things beyond this. And I'm like, I can't even see that. Like, I cannot see that scope of me doing anything else. And it makes me nervous to the point where I want to throw up. Like, no, if I ever got fired, what am I gonna do? I mean, obviously get another job.
A friend of mine actually is has been looking for to leave animal control, like, and they've been doing it for about five years or so. And I think like it's hit or miss. I think a lot of it is dependent on the hiring manager, but I think you have to really tailor your cover letter into how animal control is equivalent to whatever job you're applying for. Because
Mm-hmm.
we have policy management, we have
Mm-hmm.
regulatory authority, we have detailed and investigations, we have report writing. All to me, all that stuff is pretty universal to other types
Mm-hmm.
of work. But if you just like apply for a job and just put like I was a dog catcher for 5 years, like people aren't going to be able to read past that. You really have to figure out a way to like fine tune that information to get it to the right hands.
I found what I was talking about. I misspoke. It was not the ALDF. It was the Association for Animal Welfare Advancement.
Okay,
Mm,
Sawa,
so
or it used
Yeah.
to be Sawa. Shout out Sawa.
Um,
It's really $250, Sawa?
yeah, so there's like different packages you can get.
Okay.
And if you like did it before June, like you pre-signed up before June 15th of 2023, and completed the data set, then you have premium access and it's free.
Got it.
But then if you want to purchase it, it's between 250 and like 500. Like if I'm looking at right now, it would be 425 or 475.
Yeah.
I wonder, so do you need it for your case, what you're working on? Because if you do, let's talk offline because there might be a different way.
It was something I was looking into.
So how long is the average lifespan of, does it say?
It doesn't say, but there's a study on it.
Uh, I'd be really curious to know.
Yeah.
Really curious to know. I want to
But
jump
it's
in.
got like, oh,
Yeah.
sorry, I was just gonna say it's got graphs, it's got the data that's summarized, but it's also got PowerPoints to go with it, um, and key performance indicators and all kinds of things in it. So,
Yeah, it's really cool information for sure.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I wonder how they do it too, because like, yeah, like does the does like how I don't know. Do y'all do exit? Well, I guess you're just one person, Ashley, but it with you, Ashley. It's so funny. Texas with you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do y'all do exit interviews?
I don't do them. HR takes care of that.
Yeah.
And if they report anything kind of weird, they'll go ahead and let me know.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, I haven't really had since we're in a weird area too. It's we cycle through a lot of part-timers
Yeah.
and things like that. I don't cycle too much through animal control for the most part. But yeah, the HR does send out a letter. I don't know how much feedback they get once they leave.
Well, it's definitely an interesting thought process. This job is hard. I just did a workshop in South Carolina and we talked about compassion fatigue for a few hours and you just hear the same things over and over again from our team and I just don't know how we get the support that we need long term. I with all due respect, like I don't think having a relaxation room in your shelter is the only answer. I think it's multifaceted. I know that's like a big trend now. Like there's smelling scents. What are those things called? Where like
Like diffusers.
yeah. See, this is a test for all of you. Like there's diffusers and like dark lights and Bob Marley. Like like where have we come to a point that we need to have those in our shelters? Like, are we like what happened to just the general 15-minute and 30-minute breaks? Like, am I
Hmm.
hold that thought, Bishop? I can
I
see her down
remembered.
there.
I remembered the other there was a I sent you the data for this, for the average length. Remember,
Yes.
my husband found it.
Yeah, that's what I also pulled that up too, just by a quick Google search.
Yeah, I just sent you guys the link to that.
Uh-huh. Does it say the
Um,
lifespan though?
that's what I was looking for. 52% are male, 47% are
Mhm.
female. Um, that's a wage ratio. I thought it said somewhere in here. I'll keep looking. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Because
Well,
now you got me. Now I'm down rabbit hole.
you go rabbit hole, and I'm going to read this article.
Okay.
This article published on June 16th of 2024. I don't. I've never heard of animals 24-7.org. Has any of you animals 24-7?
No.
Anybody? No. No.
No.
No.
Well, we're going to read it anyway. The headline: $7.5 million award for mauling by a pit bull rehomed by LA Animal Services.
Why does the breed matter? Why does it matter?
That's a
One of
good
my
point.
biggest pet peeves.
I know.
You do have a good point there. My question would be though, before we get into the article, like how would you word that? Just
Dog.
just dog.
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 Canine. No, not canine, because they
Yeah.
would automatically assume police.
Do you
Yeah.
well, but
Just
dog.
dog. I mean,
Yeah.
Why do you think, do you think it's to sensationalize this article? Like, what do you think?
Oh,
1000%.
yeah, 1,000%. 1,000%. It's like even when here locally, when we have to put out a PSA because something happened, it's always this picture of this like vicious pit bull or something. And I'm like, why? Why do you do that?
And then when you go into the comments section, if it does say dog, everybody is
Pit
automatically
bull.
already understanding. Well, no, you get one of two things. They're either like, it is a pit bull, or you get the people that are like, well, it obviously wasn't a pit bull because they don't say the breed. That's the only time they never say the breed is when it's not a pit bull. What
Well,
is my doing?
here we go. So that title, that article, animals24-7.org, $7.5 million award for mauling by a pit bull, okay, rehomed by LA Animal Services. I'm closing that tab and I'm opening the Los Angeles Times, and their title is Van Nuys woman who lost arm in dog attack gets 7.5 million from the city of LA. How's that?
Yes. Yes,
Much better.
much better.
All right. We'll read the LA
I
Times
found it.
article. We'll read the LA Times article after Ashlee Bishop tunes us in on the average lifespan of animal control officers.
Sorry. All right. So, animal control officer 10-year statistics, and this is from zippa.com/animal control. Um, we have less than 1 year at 20%, 1 to 2 years, 33%, 3 to 4 years, 17%, 5 to 7 years, 15%, 8 to 10 years, 6%, 11 plus years at 10%. I'm
So
in that
we're all in the minority here, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Congratulations. We are
Right.
all, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the majority then? What was it? Under
One to
5?
two.
So the majority of
Mm-hmm.
under 2 years leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, if you're listening and you've made it past 2 years, you're stuck. You're not going anywhere. You're just with that 11% now. You're just here for life. Whew.
Yeah.
A bit of a reality check.
Sorry, I'll stop interrupting you now, Dan.
No, it was a good tease. That was a good tease for this article. All right. Los Angeles Times. Van Nuys woman who lost arm in dog attack gets 7.5 million from the city of LA. Okay. Van Nuys woman whose arm was amputated after she was attacked by a dog adopted from the city animal shelter will receive up to 7.5 million in a settlement approved by the Los Angeles City Council on Friday. The victim was severely injured by a pit bull named OG in her backyard. Really, OG Bishop? See, we can't even use that anymore. The victim, who was severely bit by a pit bull named OG in her backyard on September of 2020. Her son, Brent, had adopted OG from the city's East Valley Animal Shelter. The dog arrived there in May of 2020 after biting a jogger in both arms, according to the lawsuit that the victim filed against the city, alleging negligence. Bit a jogger in both arms. We'll get back to that. On June 13th of 2020, a supervisor at the shelter approved putting OG in the main adoption kennels, and the next day a different supervisor allowed him to be listed for adoption to the public, the lawsuit said. The lawsuit alleged that the shelter staff failed to provide Brent with a written notice of OG's bite history as required by state law. The attack on the victim lasted 20 minutes, and it was a savage mauling in which both the plaintiff's arms were brutally shredded and her right arm broken into pieces and almost entirely severed above her elbow, according to the lawsuit filed on July of 2021. Her right arm could not be saved, and her left arm was also so badly injured, resulting in permanent disability of the left arm and the whole body, according to the lawsuit. OG was euthanized after the attack. Neither city attorney nor attorney representing the victim immediately responded for a request for comment after the city council vote. The settlement to the victim comes about 2 weeks after Leslie Correa, a longtime animal services employee, was severely mauled by a dog at the city of San Pedro Animal Shelter. Correa told NBC that she had 3 surgeries, adding, "My thigh is half gone." Both city employees and animal activists have expressed alarm about crowded and dangerous states of the city shelters. Animal Services Department General Manager Stacey Daines wrote in an email to the public last month that the overcrowding crisis has put staff, volunteers, and animals in harm's way. What's interesting about this article and what was said in the other article, they did not quote in the LA Times, but in the 24/7, animal247.org, they quoted cities like Los Angeles adopted a no-kill philosophy, which has been corrupted by financial incentives to mean releasing 90% of animals impounded. The goal compromises public safety. Now, I don't know who made that quote because it doesn't really say in this 24/7, Animal 24/7 article, but I will say that you're hearing that more and more with the other victim, Miss Korea, who was quoted in the LA Times article. She also mentioned that LA adopted a no-kill policy too quickly. And I don't want to make this anything about no kill, but I want to go back to the public safety aspect of if this dog bit a jogger on both arms running, like what would your department or not, I don't even want to put your department on the spot. Like what is your, just as we've established our length and history in here, like what is your thoughts on what you would do with that animal?
I mean, at that point, dogs running at large, it was unprovoked. At that point, I wouldn't put it up for adoption at all, period.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, especially if it was at large, unprovoked. I mean, I'm assuming that this person probably did not have, bacon hanging off of his arms or something. Um, so yeah, that dog would have been declared dangerous. Um, Absolutely no questions about it, especially with the severity of the injury. And I can guarantee you that with that declaration, my shelter that I contract with, I don't work for them, but the one that I contract with absolutely would not have put that dog up for adoption.
When you think about it, here's how I try to look at it with perspective. I've worked every animal control job that I've done has been tied to an animal shelter, part of an animal shelter. And I see it every day that our staff is given the responsibility to care for these animals. And I've not met one staff member who's done that without empathy to that animal. And now we create relationships with that animal. And so maybe that animal shows us a certain behavior and we don't think that it's an issue. And we then want to advocate like, oh, I mean, it sure, we start to humanize it and we make excuses. Well, it's just prey drive. That person was running, like it enticed that dog's prey behavior. Like, I think the reality of that situation that we read isn't about the attack. It's about the fact that they didn't disclose the attack.
Well, and just to talk to have I used that? Like, oh yeah, it was prey, whatever, or the prey drive. Yes, I have used that. However, that's a difference between was it under control of some sort? Was it being monitored? And then when we talk about, the safety of people and making sure that it's not going to continue to be an issue or a safety concern, what is that dog going home to? So again, having to let people know that you need to be extremely vigilant with this dog. And it comes back to maybe every dog could have a chance at having a long life if they had the unicorn person who knows how to train and how to be vigilant and how to handle a dog that has some uh tendencies, but there's not enough unicorn people out there to do that, and so we have to protect our communities.
But and you're 1,000% right. The problem that you see is so where like I've worked again, the shelter that I saw had the most vigorous like adoption process was the smallest shelter in the most high socioeconomic community. Shelters that I work at or have worked at, I should say, um, that like they don't have any sort of like adoption counseling policy. They're just like, you want the animal, cool, take it. Like the one that I'm talking about, the one that I used to work at with this small, like they would literally be like, yeah, so we don't do same day adoptions, period. Like that
Hmm.
never happens. And they were like, it could take up to a week because we have to verify this. And I'm like, I when I went there, I was like, why do we like, what's the purpose of that? But their return, their adoption return rate was low. And, but
And I know people get so frustrated with that because our shelter here is very similar. They are very diligent in, calling the vets, calling references to say, okay, would you leave your pet with them? And, things like that. They don't do in-home inspections or anything. I think that's a little bit overboard and way too taxing on staff. But if you have a safer, adoption and lower return to shelter.
Yeah, I mean, we're the same. We operate just like that, and our retention rate, nothing. We don't have a lot of things that come back, and a lot of times when we do have things that come back, we already kind of knew, but we were giving them a chance to kind of figure it out. It's always that puppy that they took, and then oh god, it's too much work. Okay, we're bringing it
Hmm.
back, and that's usually how it goes. But my staff does a really great job about not necessarily vetting people, but letting them know, like, hey, this dog, we go as far as, okay, this dog might not get along with male dogs. Okay, well, does it get along with a submissive male dog, or does it get along with a submissive female? Or, I mean, we go pretty in depth with all of our things, and unfortunately, and I just saw this on one of the very popular Facebook feeds, a lot of people are saying that's just too much. That's too many barriers. And I'm like, well, at the same time, we don't have a lot of animals coming back. So how is that a barrier at the end of the day? If somebody can't handle an animal and they're telling you right out front that they're not going to be able to handle this, why are you going to send that dog home or that animal home? I mean, I just had a call the other day from a lady who said she saved a dog from the euthanasia list and now she can't take care of it anymore because of XYZ. And she was wanting us to take it because she didn't want to take it back to the shelter because it was going to get euthanized. And I'm like, how are we benefiting these animals or the community by doing things like that? It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
when it's to me, to and this is probably not going to be a favorable statement, but I'm going to say it. We live in a culture where we have no issues killing animals to benefit humans for food consumption. But we have such this big issue of killing animals in shelters that would benefit humans. I don't understand that process doesn't make sense to me. Like I don't understand why we're so focused on we have to save every animal. And I don't trust me. Like there's never been a day, even with animals that I know have been behavioral issues that have attacked employees. There's never been a day I went to work and I'm like, I can't wait to euthanize today. It's never happened. I also don't have the same view of death as many people do. I think death is somewhat defined by maybe your morals and religious beliefs and having that maybe whatever it is with death. Now we have to play the hand of God, especially if we're religious, like if we're euthanizing in that aspect. I think it creates problems there. But we don't actually know if like putting an animal to sleep humanely is a bad thing. We really don't.
Right.
The bad thing is putting these animals back in the community. The bad thing is putting them in these warehouses and letting them lose their fucking mind because they're stuck in a kennel all day and no one's able to get them out because of their behavior. Like we
I don't disagree at all, Dan. And I think it's very important. And I've very much taken the stance of the, the public needs to be educated on why we do what we do, whether it slaps them in the face or it doesn't. Because with us being, very open about our processes and why we do the things we do, there should always be a reason for the things that we do. It should never be a, oh, we just do it because so and so shelter is doing this, or it's going to make us look better in the community because we're doing this. Like, no. And I feel like our industry in that aspect of things is making things very dangerous for everybody. I mean, we also have to think about our staff as well. We have to keep our staff safe. If it's not safe enough for our staff, then what makes you think that it's going to be safe enough for the world?
and it's not even from a physical standard of being safe, the mental part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
these staff members that are dealing with this overcrowdedness, like it is taxing.
It
on
is.
everybody. Like I see it on a day-to-day basis, whether in my own employment or throughout this industry. And it's just I don't know when that pendulum, if it ever shifts. I really don't. I feel like there's such this movement to continue that culture. And
And it's dangerous. It's really dangerous.
yeah, yeah.
I just, I I've always been a forefront to it. I'm never putting a crate on the ground. If we don't have the space for it, we don't have the space for it. I'm sorry.
You got to make those
It's
hard
just
decisions. Yeah,
we have
yeah.
to make the hard decisions. And when we do social media posts and things like that, that is part of my discussion. We don't want to have to make these hard decisions, but we also need the community's help for everything that we're trying to save. We can only do the greater good by having the community help. We cannot do this on our own. I mean, we can post all we want about all of our adoptable pets. Our animal control officers can RTO all the dogs in the world, but we can't do this without the community's input. We are not magicians. We're not.
You got to take it a step further. These people that advocate and want to see change are the same people that own property and won't let you live there with a pet. They're the same people that have a dog in their backyard that won't get it spayed or neutered. So they're part of the problem. Like these people have to. You can't just sit here and donate to a commercial that comes on TV and feel like you're making a difference. You're not making a difference. Make a
Mhm.
difference by allowing pets in your properties. Make a difference by advocating for spay and neuter services. I saw, I want to say it's Bissell, the Pet Foundation. Man, they did like, I just saw something on LinkedIn. I mean, they did an enormous amount of spay and neuters already
Mhm.
this year. It's
Mhm.
like we need more of that. Like let's
Mhm.
focus our energy on that type of stuff. Let's focus our energy, and we had an episode a while back with ASPCA that had a bill that was being proposed or being actually moved forward about. You remember that one, Ashlee? The one in, I think it was Colorado. We had the ASPCA on talking about the how they couldn't discriminate against like pet rent, and she was telling us about like the amount of damage a pet may cause is minimum compared to
Yep.
like
To the humans.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we see that here in a college town. I mean,
Hmm.
we really do.
So it's
And some of that comes back down to the landlord needing to maybe do things like one of the things I've been advocating for in my city, but I can't seem to get it to pick up is having landlords require animals be licensed,
mhm,
because then they're following the laws. It's cheaper on their insurance.
absolutely.
And you're knowing that the animal is getting at bare minimum minimal veterinary care so that somebody's getting eyes on them. So there should be fewer health issues that are going to cause the damage.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then further too, about spay and neuter. We have a program and, it's up for everybody because at the end of the day, because you live in hoity toity over here or you don't, it doesn't matter. Your dog can get out and get pregnant. I would rather have everybody spay and neuter their pets than just, one singular population or whatever. Yes, we need to throw a lot of resources in certain areas, but at the same time, too, dogs get out. It doesn't matter where you live or who you are. And everybody needs the opportunity to get those things done regardless. And it's been helping a lot in our area. People are like, oh well, I don't fit in this category, or I just make $1,000 more than what is required. And I'm like, no, it's open. As long as you're a resident, here you go, get it fixed.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I think more conversations like this have to happen, and the articles that we keep seeing have to stop. And until we, uh, again, the average lifespan of people in this industry, was it just animal control officers or industry wide?
It
Animal
was,
animal control.
Okay.
yeah.
I'm curious if that is the same for people that work in the shelter, because there is going to be turnover and there is going to be opportunities to influence, and hopefully, you know, I think there both things can be true. Like we can help try to save every adoptable and healthy animal, but we can't blur those lines. And I think we blur those lines a lot. And that's what has to change, like figuring out ways to continue to, advocate and create safe environments. That's important.
And I think that's always been most animal control's viewpoint.
Sure.
Um, I mean, everybody here knows a little bit about, well, very minorly a little bit about my situation here, but one of the things that I keep trying to get people to understand is my job here is not licensing. That is not my primary thing. I am here to protect the animals from the community and the community from the animals.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Amen. Amen.
so, and I mean, it goes both ways. We have to do things that we don't want to do on both ends of that.
Mm-hmm. 100%.
So it looks like the same website, zippa.com, has animal shelter worker tenure as well.
Oh, let's go.
Less than 1 year is 34%.
Whew.
1 to 2 years, 31%.
So wait,
Three to
really quick. Up to two
Less than
years,
2 years is 60.
60% of people that they're gone.
They can't do it.
Okay.
3 to 4 years, 13%. 5 to 7 years, 12%. 8 to 10 years, 4%. 11 plus years, 5%.
Wow. I mean, I I
I
don't
mean,
know
it
what to
speaks for
say.
itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it really speaks for itself. Because also too, we have to think, a lot of these animal shelter workers are not in the same department as animal control. So a
Yeah.
lot of times, those animal control officers, okay, I picked up a dog, here you go. So there's a huge disconnect.
Huge.
Huge disconnect. And the weight of everything falls on the shelter workers, and it's tough. It's really tough. And I will be one right now to advocate. I will never work for a department that doesn't have animal control attached to it. Never.
What are you saying that from that camaraderie aspect or
That and just the aspect of like there's such a disconnect. I've been in a situation where the departments split, like they were together and then they went apart. And there's such a disconnect for those officers because they just see the picking up of the animal and dropping it off. They don't see the longevity of everything that you have to follow through with. And there's
sure.
a huge mental disconnect a lot of times. And I'm not saying with everybody. I mean, obviously there's a lot of people in the industry, that care, regardless of any of that. But I just, I hear horror stories, of a lot of areas who have contracts to where those officers just don't give two flying, whats. They don't engage with the community. They're just there to do whatever. And I couldn't work for a department like that. I just couldn't.
What would it take, realistically speaking? What would it take to have like reform to our industry and have some sort of federal I'm not even joking. Some sort of like federal standards. What do you think it would take?
Every one of the national organizations to get band together and fight for it. Every one of them. HSUS, ASPCA, ALDF, NACA, you name it, best friends, all of them to band together for one common cause. That's what it would take.
Do they all have one common cause though?
I think so if you look at the broad picture of it.
Fundraising?
No.
Oh, okay. Just checking.
No, if you I mean I think that deep down um
Fundraising?
each one of them has
I don't know.
people that aren't at the very top. I think the people at the very top are probably the ones that want the fundraising. But I think if you got every one of them to work together to create a federal requirement and standardization, it would also need to come from each state having its own organization or association that can also advocate within their own state. And if we can get all the states on board, we could fight for it federally.
I think you're right. But I want to take us on a little history lesson. If you're watching on YouTube or Spotify, this guy right here, that's Henry Berg. Yes, I have a sports trading card of Henry Berg, the founder of the
You
ASPCA.
would.
You can judge. You
I
can
was
judge
gonna
me.
say dork.
It's fine. This man started the ASPCA with his own money, and it wasn't. I can't remember the year, but he ended up getting like a huge bequeath from someone who passed away, and then he realized, oh wait, we can really make some money doing this, and to help support it. So obviously, funding is needed to support these organizations, but it wasn't about that from the start. It was about helping animals, and I think as a whole, truthfully, in my personal opinion, as a whole, we lost our way. As a whole, we've created all these organizations that do their own things, and they're fundraising, like a lot of them. And so and that's okay because it supports some of the things that they're doing. I think, when I look at these organizations from afar, like they all do truly provide some sort of benefit to our industry. But as you say, how do we strengthen numbers? How do we get together as a group and make the necessary changes? Because it's 100% true what you were talking about, Texas Bishop. Like some of these just dog catchers. I've been to a shelter twice now. I'm not going to name it. Where I've done counseling, not counseling, that's dumb because I'm not a social worker. I've done consulting and training, and their animal control is so separate from the shelter that I've never even met one of them. Like I've never even met one. I've never even seen
Hmm.
them in my own eyes twice now. They're like, nah, we don't associate with that show. I mean, I don't know their actual answer and reason. Maybe they're just really busy or they just don't care about training. But I know from what I've heard from the shelter staff is they're just the officers are just completely detached from that organization. It's like, is that neat? Why? What's going on? Can we have a conversation?
And then you have to question, and it's a question, right? It's not an accusation, but
Correct.
you have to question what is their quality of work if they're going to be so detached. This is the type of work that requires somebody that is going to be dedicated to their job and not just see it as a job, because then you become a dog catcher.
100%.
Um,
100%. Amen.
and that's one of the things like I'm trying to get through to my city right now is you have to have that dedication and want to do the work to be able to provide quality work.
Mm-hmm. Without a doubt.
Yeah. I'm gonna be a glass half empty on the federal topic. I don't I don't think we're gonna get there. I really don't. I think everybody could band together, and I don't think, at least in our lifetime, are we gonna see where pets are either equivalent or close to anything else that is a priority for everything. I don't think we're gonna get there. And I'm not saying that I'm not here to not fight the good fight for that, but I just don't think it's gonna happen.
It's a realistic approach.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with you. I mean, we made waves in 2019 when the PACT Act finally was established. That thing was like around, but it never got passed through the federal. I don't even know how that stuff works, to be honest. But it was like there, and it never like it kept not passing, or I don't know the whole story. But it finally passed in 2019 to allow for stricter punishment for you know the 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 really gnarly stuff that was being disseminated on the internet. Like people thought, and then when it passed, people thought like if you witness cruelty in your neighborhood, like they would be able to get federally charged. It's like that's not what that's all about. But my point is like so we have seen some changes on the federal side. I don't know. I don't know. There's so many other priorities in this world right now that a animals seem to be like an
More thought.
Back
asterisk.
burner.
Yeah, 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 100%. All right, well, let's wrap it up unless y'all got anything else. Don't forget to check out keepithumane.com for this really cool catch pole keychain. It is a catch pole defense
No,
weapon.
not depends.
That
Can I call it?
depends.
I can't call it a weapon though, can I? It's a tool. It's a self defense tool.
I would
Yeah.
say tool.
Yeah,
It's
tool.
a self
Hmm.
defense tool. It weighs 3 ounces. It is almost 5.5 inches and a half inch wide. This thing, if you know how to use a Kubotan, if you've ever been trained on it, pressure points, nose, like you can do some real damage. So be careful with this. Make sure your department approves it if you're going to carry it on duty, because it is
I
no
was gonna
joke.
say, you might need a disclaimer, Dan.
I just gave it on the episode 230 of the Animal Control Report. We appreciate y'all. KeepItHumane.com. Thanks for listening. Let's continue to help people.
Help animals.
Keep it humane.